Yeah, with the fucking long ass episodes I do, that shit happens real fast for
Mm.
me.
Oh, is it based on time? I suppose
Yeah,
it's
it's
the
you get
time equals the file size, isn't it? Yeah.
it's like it is measured in hours.
Okay.
So like the version I have like the basic premium version of StreamYard.
Yeah.
I have like 50 hours of storage.
Oh Christ.
Yeah, which like isn't bad, but like when I record like an accidental 3 hour long fucking episode,
Yeah, it starts to jump a little
I'll
bit.
watch that bar start to climb, and then I'll delete it, and then I'll watch it go because I'm recording because I'm like delete two, delete two, delete two, delete two, delete two, hour and a
Yeah.
half, 2 hour, 2 hour, 2 hour, delete hour and a half, 3 hour. Oh shit, oh shit. I get to the Mr. Radtastic episode that's damn near 4 hours long. And it's almost like I watch StreamYard go.
I haven't got to hold on to it any longer. I'm free. All right, in 3, 2, 1, and welcome everyone to the final Loki spoiler cast video. Or actually, I think this is going to be the only spoiler cast video. But yeah, final video on Loki season 2. As always, I am Mitch. You can follow me in the socials. The link tree's in the description. And of course, once again, I'm joined by Jared from the Nerd Academy podcast.
Hello, and not, it may be the final Loki spoiler cast. Period.
But it's not much. Yeah, well, yeah, it's a good point. Yeah,
Because they kind
I was
of
going to say
like,
it's not the final one because we're doing one later on. But
yeah. Well, I mean, but for of the history of this channel, at least, like
yeah,
they kind of sneakily after the fact were like, yeah, this is probably the series finale.
yeah. Now I'm sad again.
Right?
I was fine. Now I'm sad.
I love this season so much. I love this finale so much, and I loved everything that this show did and had to say and did with Loki as a character. I wish I knew going in that this was going to be the last hurrah. You know,
Part of me is happy that they didn't say it's the ending of it,
because we would be
then
anticipating
you would have
finality.
seen the ending coming a little bit. Like, yeah, no,
I still don't know if I would have seen this ending coming. I still don't know if I would have gone to that place of, well, this is clearly how this ends. Like,
yeah.
I wish I was able to like mentally prepare myself
Mm.
for like knowing that this show I love was coming to an end, because like I like once I watched the final episode, I was like, oh, so like this is it. Like I'm okay with that. I can live with this being how this show ends. Period. Ends. But I was like, I wish I knew. I wish I knew to like revel in it more. Like the same way that, not to open old wounds, like I know going into Andor season 2, like this will be it. You know, so like I know to like be prepared for that. I know, like I'm sure that whenever the final season of The Mandalorian rolls around, like that will come with some amount of fanfare of like, this is the end of this story, you know, whether or not the final season is before or after the Filoni movie, whatever. And because so many of the other Marvel shows were like, hey, this is a limited series, this is, you know, this is meant to be kind of like this, like this is meant to be a mini series, and it's going to be its own thing. So, you know, don't expect season 2s for stuff necessarily. I was, you know, I didn't go in like expecting this level of finality, and it's beautiful. It is so bittersweet. And I loved it. I absolutely loved it. You know,
I was saying in my, I'm hopefully it's out yet, but in my like little brief spoiler review for this episode, that I really appreciate that it's just a complete copy of the season 1 finale, but at the same time, it's one of those rare like perfect endings. Like I made the comparison to Hickman's Fantastic Four, right? That you have the end of Secret Wars, and then the fantastic, like he sends those characters off. And it's like, if I never saw those characters again, I'd be happy. I'd be fine with it.
Yeah.
Right, because that ending, you can't do much better than the ending they gave them. It's like, if I never see Loki again, I'll be okay with it.
Yeah.
Because
And
it was just one of those moments.
I think the beauty of it, especially keeping like the nature of the MCU in mind, is that on one hand, there is, like you said, like if the last time I see Loki is that slow pan to him with that melancholic, I'm happy my friends are okay, and I am content with the selfless decision I made. That is perfectly okay to me to be the last time I lay eyes on Tom Hiddleston's Loki.
Not that it's gonna be,
not that it's gonna be, but that's the beauty of it, isn't it? That because of the nature of the MCU, it's like, oh, you're in a very interesting position now, moving into what will, no pun intended, be the end game here. Of like, whenever it hits the fan with Kang or Doom or whomever, that when the multiverse starts to like truly cave in on itself and not just have these little fractures and fault lines cracking through it. I say that I haven't seen the Marvels yet. I'm seeing it this weekend. So I don't know what multiversal stuff may or may not happen in the Marvels. I know that like in like that last trailer that has Valkyrie in it, like it has some like No Way Home-esque like purple riffs in reality. But whatever that threat that is coming is, Loki is in a particularly interesting position as this like avatar of reality. He's the god of stories now, which is just so brilliant and beautiful. And I love this. I love this. And again, it is so poignant to be the end of this Loki's journey to becoming a hero. Perfectly teeing up him to get to act in that heroic role later. It's sensational. We're not doing this on my StreamYard, so I can't play the clip.
I'll be honest, I sat here waiting for it, and then it clicks that I'm in charge. The wave of disappointment I just had in myself, like,
Sometimes I hit you with a out of the blue Alex Jones clip, and then sometimes you realize you want to hear Future say sensational.
I always want to hear him say sensational. But I have a question for you, because I asked this on the spoiler review I did for it. I haven't had a chance to look at the comments yet, but it's just, and I don't know if this is how they're going to go about it, right? But the whole season's about, well, the whole show really is about how time's a circle, right? This is a literal Ouroboros.
Yeah.
Right. Do you think this ending implies that Loki's been there, or Loki was in charge of the multiverse before He Who Remains? Because it seems more natural, right? Because it's a tree. It's literally, it's how it's supposed, like, it's a natural occurring shape, right? Whereas the He Who Remains sacred timeline is just a flat disc or a flat ring. And obviously, has he usurped someone to get to that point? Or is Loki like broken the loop here?
So I think to answer your question simply, I think he broke a loop. And I think that he took the place of Kang Who Remains. The thing that I always find fascinating with stories like this is there's always that weird factor of like, we are witnessing something that's happening in some type of sequential order, but because of the nature of space time mumbo jumbo, like there's kind of like a sense that all of these things can only be one thing at a time, right?
Yeah.
So that like, now that Loki has done this, there is an air to it of, well, this, like, he's already lived in eternity now, if that makes sense. Like we saw him, go through centuries. Like this finale spans the time of hundreds of years, if not a millennium. with like, because we don't know how much centuries
Well, it
means,
says centuries, but it could be 9. You could
it could
on
be
the
9. We don't know how many years it took to get Victor Timely to like stop spaghettiing himself and dropping the third
exactly, yeah.
multiplier. Like we don't know. And also that needle drop of like the I can't remember the name of it, but the Beethoven disco remix.
Oh god, yeah.
Because again, and like that needle drop in and of itself is so emblematic of the show, where it is past and future happening simultaneously. And it is an evolution of one thing that you thought you knew becoming something wildly different, like Beethoven's Fifth becoming this like funky disco remix. It is Loki, the god burdened with glorious purpose, actually finding a purpose that is like not entirely self-serving.
Was that supposed to be a Hiddleston impression?
Not really. I just the voice, I can't do that. I can't do the wild head whip he does in every episode. My hair is just long enough again to every time he does it in every episode.
He does
every single episode.
I'm pretty certain he's done it since Thor 1. That's like a key trait of Loki.
Is the wild take off my headphones to do it, even though no one can see it. Just like whip. I love it every time. People will see.
Speaking of something he's done since the start of Loki, he ad-libbed that line about doing it for all of us from the first Thor movie. And I didn't realize that until I saw some point out. I was like, this absolute cheeky kid.
I realized it. I don't know how I was able to recall that line from Thor, because I can't tell you the last time I sat down and watched Thor from beginning to end. And don't get me wrong, I am a Thor defender. I posit that 3 out of 4 Thor movies are actually great. What?
I was just trying to think what I actually think of the Thor movies as a whole. I was like, is great a word I'd use for the first Thor?
I think Thor 1 has enough.
It's got a
style and charm and just like high fantasy fun that it's just like I love this so much. Also, I love me some Kenneth Branagh. Ragnarok is Ragnarok.
Ragnarok is great.
No notes. And shout out to a friend of my show, Alden Diaz. He did an episode with Joseph Scrimshaw of Force Center about why Thor: Love and Thunder is actually a fantastic Star Wars movie. I highly recommend that. It's one of my favorite episodes of Octo Radio. I highly recommend it because I also love me some Love and Thunder.
I enjoyed Love and Thunder. I can never say the name properly, but I don't know if I called it great. Right? It's one of those. It's fine. It's fine. The further out I've gotten from it, it's like, I've called up a bit.
I mean, again, I should probably be watching it at some point soon. For me, it's one of those movies where the things that work for me work so well. Like I'm not going to begrudge anybody. Like I do think it is a little too jokey at times, and one of my biggest gripes that I never see people talk about is that when Thor is talking to other Asgardians who aren't Valkyrie, the dialogue turns into what feels like a parody of older Thor comics.
Yeah, I get what you mean. Yeah,
and that never jived with me. But everything else, but anyway, all of that to say, I don't know how I recalled that line from Loki when he's like dangling off the Bifrost on Odin's scepter, but. Is it his scepter or his staff? I can't remember, but either one.
It is in fact a spear. Isn't it Sleipnir or whatever it's called?
Yeah, probably.
Certain that's what it is.
I couldn't remember if Odin actually had the spear or not, but
he definitely has the spear in the movies.
Yeah.
Because Loki holds it in the Dark World, I'm certain.
Yeah, I just couldn't remember if he was holding on to his own thing or whatever.
Yeah.
But
actually, it's not Sleipnir, it's Gungni or whatever the hell it's called. Before someone got actually in the comments.
Yeah, it's a word with way too many.
Insert Norse name here.
But I don't know how I recalled that line, but I was like, oh man, and again, that comes back to the circular nature of the show, right? That like,
yeah,
not only because again, this is a fresh memory for Loki, and again, I think it's something that like we as the audience need to keep in mind is that like this is a Loki who has only experienced the events of Thor and the Avengers.
The Dark World.
No.
Yeah.
No, because this Loki is pulled out of. This is the Loki from Endgame.
Oh no, you're right. Dark World's after Avengers, isn't it? Wow, yeah, wow.
So he escapes like as he's being arrested by Shield and Thor.
Yeah.
So like so he hasn't even had that moment to like really let it sink in the way Thor mourned him a second time.
Yeah.
And would eventually mourn him for real a third time.
And no doubt a fourth. Because the sun will shine on them again.
Listen.
Now that he's a tree, he needs the sun.
I think Thor's the one that bites it. I don't think it's Loki. I think Thor dies this time. And it sticks. And it's gonna shatter everybody.
Well, this is the thing about Norse mythology, right? It is all cyclical.
Yeah, it is all cyclical. But again, you look at the show and it started telegraphing itself very early that like at what was basically the middle point of the entire show's existence with the first episode of season 2, Ouroboros, it was like kind of telling you there, like, hey, like this, this is what it is.
I questioned that the entire time.
And the fact that the first and final episode are both titled Glorious Purpose. And again, it is that fun inversion of what that means. That like the Loki who is talking about glorious purpose at the very beginning is a very different Loki who like understands what that means, especially after that beautiful conversation with Mobius.
I love that.
Entire thing. It is so profound and beautiful the way that Loki comes to understand that like it's not. I hesitate to say that it's not about him because in a way there's this bizarre narcissistic selflessness in a lot of Loki's behavior. Where obviously he's selfish because he wants to like hoard and obtain power so he can rule. But so much of that is to impress other people. So much of that is to rise to Thor's level. So much of
he just wants recognition, right?
He wants to be recognized. Yeah, he wants to be seen by Odin, and in doing so, like he does a lot of things that, like, they're not good and they are selfish, but it is this need for recognition from Thor and Odin and Freya, whichever one. I can never remember.
Freya,
thank you. I think I said Frigga like 18 times on my own show. But to get that recognition from Freya, which he already has, and that is the tragedy of somebody like Loki, is like, look at this person who's already giving you all those things that you need so much. Maybe focus on them and focus on your relationship with them and stop trying to impress people who have kind of made it clear that like they aren't interested. And that's so much part of the tragedy as well. That when Loki realizes like he's going to ascend a throne that has no immediate benefit to him other than saving the lives of his friends. Like that is incredible. You go from somebody who was willing to lay waste to an entire planet to have a seat at Thanos' table and to scorn his brother and his father. And that same guy, like, what, in a few weeks, a month?
If that, yeah.
Like, again, and that's the other thing is that, like, again, not only do you have to represent or keep in your mind and, like, cognizantly keep track of the fact this is Loki immediately after the events of Avengers. This has also only been a few weeks for Loki. You know, like in total, like, you know, from him becoming captured by the TVA up to him like mastering the time slipping, you know, like maybe a couple months, that like all of this profoundly changes his worldview and opens his eyes. And I think that's beautiful, you know, and I think that it shows that, you know, Loki kind of needed to get away from the whole Thor and Odin situation to be able to do better, because there's a part of his brain that will keep bending over backwards to attain that validation. Because even when he is acting bravely and, you know, seemingly selflessly, there are still selfish machinations under that, you know, in the way that he does help Thor defeat Malekith, and he does, you know, maybe not directly, you know, but like he does create a situation where he's able to save Thor's life in the Dark Realm, you know, like he does all those things, but he also does it to usurp Odin. But even then, he never lets it slip that he's the one in control of Asgard. It's always been, yeah, I'm like the cooler Odin, you know, and like people, again, they are obsessed with Loki. They treat him as this, you know, new hero in their, you know, cosmology now in Asgard, but like he's helping them though. He's being a good leader. You know, like that's the thing, is it like there is this element to Loki where like he is a good leader. He is somebody who is able to take care of his people. The issue is that like he has this unhealthy relationship with his brother and his father that will make him commit heinous acts in the name of like making them acknowledge him. You know, he's like friggin' Roman Reigns, you know?
So he's unironically just an Odin.
Yeah.
And he's an Odin a little bit too late, right? Because obviously by the time Odin gets Loki, Odin's not the Odin of like Hela's era. So he's acting like an Odin when Odin doesn't want that anymore. He wants the Thor. But then when he, as you said, you know, in the Dark World, or when you see it in Ragnarok, he's acting as he thinks Odin acted. Right? He's like that little kid looking up at his dad, and he's like, oh, my dad's a good guy, deep down. So I'm going to act like that version of Odin instead of the actual Odin.
Exactly.
And also, you're when you say Frigga, you're right. The Frigga and Freya are the same person. It's just different times they call it different things.
Okay, thank you. I thought I was crazy that I had both of those names bouncing around in my mind.
I think she's Frigga when she's pre-married to Odin, and then she becomes Freya when she marries Odin.
Okay.
Because Frigga's like the Aesir name, and Odin hates the Aesir or whatever. The Vanir, I can never remember the Norse properly.
That sounds right. No, so absolutely all of those things. You nail on the head. So yeah, so seeing Loki like have this change of heart, you know, and again, like I one of the things that I loved about the season 1 finale of Loki is that there's almost this boy who cried wolf element to it.
Yeah.
Of where he realizes like, I don't think killing He Who Remains is the right way. And it's immediately, yeah, because you want a table. You want to see it at the table. You want power. You just want to do his job for him and have the power that comes with that. And he's like, no, sincerely, I don't want to do that. And he says that throughout this season, where he's like, listen, I don't want to have to do this, but I feel like it's the only way. And eventually he does prove himself to be right. But I think it is such a wonderful situation and brilliant circumstance to put him in, where the only solution is that he does have to ascend the throne. But there's no way for Loki to say that and everybody not roll their eyes at him and go, yeah, of course you think that's the only answer to this solution.
Well, you can roll it back around to...
I'm stunned that you think this is the only way to solve this problem.
What was it Freya said to Thor about that, be who you are, not who you're supposed to be?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
like it's literally the same.
Mitch, that's such a good connection. Oh,
right. it's the same lesson, but he's teaching himself. Because obviously Sylvie is a Loki. She is a variant of him. He's literally having that inner conflict, but it's on the outside with a different version of him. And of course, she's going to be saying, you're doing this because you want the throne, because she is that old version of Loki. And where this man is so close to being tipped over to the good edge, as opposed to being on the fence and wobbling every time you see him. Like, hearing it come from a version of himself is just enough to actually just push him.
Absolutely. And I think that that whole idea of, like, you know, be who you are, not who you're supposed to, that's beautiful. That is such a great point to put on that. And, you know, speaking of Sylvie, you know, I'm not gonna lie to you, I got nervous. I got really nervous that, like, you got to make the hard choice, and, like, we had to prune that kid.
Yeah, I say part of me thought this, like, Sylvie's done because she's not been in this season a lot. She's not been a focus. She hasn't really been with the supporting cast. She's just been something Loki's trying to drag along, which again, you can, he has to let go of who he was, sort of thing. You can make that connection.
There's that. I think there's also a level of, like, again, that maybe that's true. I also think that Sylvie looms so large in the season anyway. I
mean, she has a presence, right? But she's not. She never really does a lot, because. But again, you don't really need to do a lot because she's the catalyst for the.
Yeah, and thing. Like she represents in many ways, and again, she comes by it honestly. You know, I'm not here to say that Sylvie's wrong necessarily. You know, I've said
no, because how is she supposed to know, right? Like,
how are you supposed to know? And I think that there is this element to her where she represents kind of a base desire that Loki has. That it's that part of him does feel like, I want to do my own thing. And I think that one of the tragic elements of Loki, something that we've kind of danced around talking about, like the fact that he is a good leader, that he is somebody who can take care of people. It is this toxicity he has with Thor and Odin that allows him to make bad decisions. I don't want to say makes it. I don't want to take his agency away in the choices he's made, because it is a huge part of his character. But I think that Sylvie represents this, like, hey, you could just do your own thing, man. You know?
Yeah.
And that like there is an easy way out of just not being involved in all of this tomfoolery. And then on some level, like, I think Loki would like that. You know, like that there is that selfish nature there, and that his man, there's so many big ideas in this show, and it's just like it's hurting my brain to try to like I'm like trying to tackle so much of them at once. But he has this call to responsibility. He has this call to duty that is inherent in him, and it might be one of Odin's best traits that made its way into both of his sons. You know, that he can't let go of that, and he has this responsibility. The issue is that responsibility and that call to duty has always manifested in this very selfish, egomaniacal way.
Yeah.
And it has always marred his soul. And you know, I did truly think that part of that was going to be like, I'm going to make a hard choice and have to kill her. And I don't know how I would have felt if that was the answer. I don't know. I can't wrap my brain around it. But I love that the choice that, and again, I think the show does that intentionally, where it tries to frame that like, oh, the choice Loki's about to make is one to kill her in the name of saving reality. Because, and again, I think it is a fun moment where you have that moment where she goes, the only way to stop this is to stop me from killing he who remains. And then you immediately juxtapose that with her saying, I'm not going to give you permission to kill me if that's what you're looking for.
Yeah.
And it's like,
I'm not going to give you my blessing. It's like, no.
But you kind of already did in a way. Like, you know, that you know, you see Sylvie's inconsistencies that, you know, when she realizes, well, maybe I have to make a sacrifice unknowingly. or a sacrifice that a past me wouldn't be able to recognize as happening. And I find that like just fascinating, and this moral conundrum of like, well, somebody needs to be driving the ship, you know?
Yeah.
And I love that. And again, another interesting callback is that the whole idea where like OB, like variant author OB is like, I think maybe you need to abandon the science and lean into the fiction. Right.
Oh, Douglas Adams OB. Yeah.
Douglas Adams OB, thank you. And I love the idea that like that's exact. Not only is that exactly what he does, like he forgoes all of the put on a containment suit so you don't get radiation poisoning, and you're going to put this gadget in a launcher and shoot it into another gadget. Like all of the science fiction mumbo jumbo goes out the door, and the solution comes from pure fantasy of him reaching into reality, molding it to his will, doing this thing that again has always been associated with him subjugating people, dominating worlds, you know, making choices to force people into boxes for his own benefit. And for the first time, he is like doing this like Herculean act of magic and reality warping, and it's in the name of saving everybody. It's so beautiful. It's so beautiful the way that this character does this full 180 and gets it. Oh, God, I love this show. Shambles who? Shambles who?
Once you've seen the shambles, you'll understand. Well, I said once you've seen the shambles, you understand.
So did you not like it?
It's fine.
So you're doing?
Yeah, I call it the shambles purely just to take the piss. No,
okay. I was just saying, I sincerely can't tell if you're doing a bit at this point, which is something I only normally say on a different YouTube channel at 9 p.m. on Thursdays. But
no, it's completely. I think I said it on Twitter. I just wish it had another 30 minutes. Everything in that movie, every problem I could have ever had in that movie could be solved with another half an hour.
That's fair. That's fair.
I understand why they made it an hour and a half. I got nothing against the movie being an hour and a half. I think this one specifically needed to be an hour and a half. No, 2 hours long, even.
Yeah.
You just needed that extra 30. But that's a different movie, which I think will eventually obviously play into what happens in this show for
sizzle. I have no idea what that means.
obvious reasons. I say obvious, obviously you don't know. But I don't know if you've seen it going around, but there is a theory about the color of everything here.
Is this the Infinity Stone thing?
It is the Infinity Stone thing. Yeah.
Man, I love that. I don't know if I subscribe to it necessarily. I don't know.
I do, based on the fact that we had Wanda explode into red. We've had two characters sacrifice themselves, and two are very closely linked to Infinity Stones.
So who are the two? Wanda and Loki?
Wanda and Loki, yeah.
Isn't there what's the one that's like positing them? Or no, I saw something talking about like somebody's going to become the Space Stone in the Marvels. Because I saw something about like, oh look, there's blue things happen. Again, I have no context. I have no idea.
I mean, with what happens in that movie,
someone is going to create the Space Stone by virtue of what they're doing. Not necessarily they become or manifest, but they might manifest the recreation of the Space Stone.
I say I don't think they're going to bring the stones back. I just think they're going to do what the comics did recently with that Infinite Destinies. I think Jerry Duggan wrote it, where the stones, because the movie's never touched it, the stones have a form of sentience, right? And they sort people out. And then you had like the creation of Star in Captain Marvel, and she was powered by the Reality Stone and all this sort of stuff. I wonder if they're going to go that route. Like you're going to have the stones come back, and the stones are going to be the answer to the Secret War solution. But that solution is we have 6 people.
Yeah.
So you're going to have this Loki come back. You're going to have Wanda come back. You got Vision because Mind Stone. You got Carol because Space Stone. You could go Gamora or Natasha for the Soul Stone. You got that sort of a lineup, and it's
Wouldn't
an interesting enough lineup to have.
I think. Let me cook here, okay? And you're gonna like this. You're gonna like this.
I hope I do.
The new manifestation of the Soul Stone is a reborn Tony Stark, because he's the last person to be sacrificed by it.
Oh.
That like when we inevitably get the OG Avengers and Secret Wars, because it's obviously gonna happen. It's right there. Like we're not. Let's stop playing stupid. Like that was a revelation in the Variety article. Like, they're toying with bringing back the original Avengers. I'm like, I can only imagine what movie that would be.
Just have you seen that IGN video?
No.
Right.
I read that entire article on air, and I am done with that discourse. I'm lying. I probably will get back into it, but I was like, don't need this. I don't need a video that says Avengers Endgame might be their problem, but also their solution. I am not subjecting myself to something that intentionally obtuse.
Like, I think it was the IGN one anyway. Someone has said like they need to destroy the MCU to like keep going. I was like, have you ever heard of Secret Wars? Like the Variety article,
the obvious soft reboot that's coming. The obvious soft reboot that's coming.
Like literally everyone's mentioning that what Marvel has to do. And it's like, for the love of Christ, read Secret Wars. There are 3 of them. They all have there's not 2 of them. I know everyone likes to say, oh, there's 2. No, there's 3. Because there's Secret Wars 2, like less than a year after the first one. They are literally all the same story. They all do the same thing. They all serve the same purpose. They are there to go, what works, what doesn't work, cool, get rid of it. What works, cool, we keep this, we move forward. It's literally the point.
We like Miles and Peter existing next to each other. Okay, bring Miles and his family over.
Exactly.
Okay, you like this, flip that.
Exactly. Yeah. And I do not understand. I know comics in niche. I can't expect everyone to read comics from the 80s or Hickman's run from nearly 10 years ago, which blows my mind. That's like 1,000 issues long to understand the whole point of it, right? But there's a wiki. It sure is concise. Read the wiki. God.
I do like the Infinity Stone idea. I think it'd be interesting. I think that it is I think it would be an interesting on-ramp to make.
I think it's an easy way to have a team from a multiverse for a multiversal war movie.
Yeah. Right. For sure. Like, and I think you could even go a step further and be like, yeah, like it's not necessarily the Wanda we saw apparently die when Wondergore caved in. You know,
I don't believe. See, that book's not officially licensed by Marvel, right? I know there's quotes and stuff from Feige, but it's not an official.
No, that's not in the MCU book. Apparently, that's in like the Timeline book, which is like a Marvel DK publishing thing.
Oh, is it? I thought that was actually from the.
No, that was not in the MCU book. They like I'm like 99% sure it's like in like the Timelines book. Similar to what they did.
Even then, I know it's I'm putting an arm in the lining here, right? I do not believe that she's dead. Feige can say she's dead, like he can say it's 616, but this is it's not 616, it's 1990. No. That woman is not dead.
That is, I don't begrudge you that. I think you could also, again, if the point is multiversal, to be like, you know, or even you could even go so far as to say that like that big plume of red that happens when it caves in is her being like transported to when we see her next.
Yeah, that's 100% my thing, right? Because it's the spoilers for Young Avengers, by the way. If you've never read Young Avengers, this is literally the plot of the Children's Crusade. This is where Billy and Tommy go find their mum because Scarlet Witch has not been around for whatever reason. Then she ends up in that area and she's with Doom and yada yada yada. They go fight Doom, but you know, there's the whole rumors thing of their next presentation, like their next Werewolf by Night, is the Witch's Road. And it's like, we just literally made her Scarlet Witch, have her just go poof over there or in there and bang. Right.
We shall see.
Or it's the Reality Stone kicking off, because actually, no, it's not the Reality Stone in the slightest, is it? Because
No, but again, it could be her
Maybe.
manifesting the reality stone.
It's true,
And again,
yeah.
like, and that's what I keep saying is that, like, I think a multiversal team of some sort that is like a manifestation of each of the stones, like where they become an infinity gauntlet. Like they are tapping
Yeah.
into the powers of the soul stone, the mind stone, the space stone, etc., etc., etc.
Because they want you to think that, or at least the end game literally has the what's her name? Bald woman, Doctor
Ancient
Strange.
One.
That's the one, Ancient One. I had that in my head, and I questioned myself. You know, she literally comes out here and says, "Without these things, stuff kicks off." Right? It's been a couple of years without the stones. Stuff is kicking off.
Yeah.
Right? How do you fix it? You need everything to have the stones.
Which I think is an interesting idea, an interesting way to play it, you know. And again, how directly do they do that? I don't know, but I think it would be cool if like each of these, like a new squad of multiversal Avengers is like, yeah,
especially if you're gonna do like a soft reboot, right? You don't soft reboot Marvel without having the stones. The stones are like the core of their entire like comic side.
The whole cosmology, yeah,
like they're so important to everything. Even though they are just a bunch of space rocks at Celestial's mind. But you can choose to ignore that if you want.
But yeah, dude, I just this whole season was beautiful, you know. I loved I'm just happy with how everybody's story. I wanted more. I want to know what no, did Brad got pruned, didn't he?
I don't remember, you know.
I don't. Brad might be hanging around out there. I know that, like, I'll say this: I was expecting there to be more stuff with Renslayer, and I love the way
the
that
Renslayer bit was a surprise to me. I thought, oh, they've actually legitimately forgotten about her, or they're just going to be like, hey, she's over here. But the fact that they've shown her again in the little trash world makes me think she's still going to be around.
But here's the thing: I love that A, it's a trash world. B, it's in the wreckage of an old TVA, which I think is just such a beautiful, physical manifestation of like all of what she represents.
Yeah,
and she's about to be consumed by Eliath. Like, I sincerely want that to be how her story ends. That there's like, you've had this fanatical connection to this place, to this institution, to serving He Who Remains. And now, even as you've seen so many people make the same choice you were supposed to, gave their lives in the name of making the right choice, you kept choosing this path. You were given so many off ramps.
Yeah, but she's so important to Kane, is my thing. I know, obviously, killing this one off doesn't necessarily mean you can't have another one.
Yeah.
You can't just grab that character back, whether it be a different actress or the same one. I just feel like they left her in such a way because obviously Alioth is how they got to the end of time in the first place. So her meeting that doesn't necessarily mean it's the end, No body, no death, right?
Yeah. I know. Like I said, and I'm sure they could sell me on like, oh yeah, Renslayer like tamed Eliath or whatever. I just really like the idea that, like, it is it's like the way Director Krennic dies in Rogue One. You know, where like there is something so profoundly beautiful about him literally taking the Death Star to the face. Where it's like, look at all the destruction you have wrought on an individual level, on a mass scale, all of it, in the name of this weapon that represents all of your ambition. And it will kill you. Because you were so happy to step on other people to create a monster. It is the only way you deserve to go out. And I like Renslayer getting the Krennic. I like her getting Krennicked, as it were.
Get Krennic.
Oh,
don't think the kids are going to say that one.
Get Krennicked. And now I'm just thinking about Mads. No. Ben Mendelsohn. I almost lost his name, and now I'm just thinking about how Talos.
R.I.P. Yeah. Oh, that's nah. I won't say that. Yeah.
I just need more Ben Mendelsohn in things. I just want to watch.
Well, you ain't gonna get him in this. Well, too fast. I say every time I say that, I'm like, of course you could get him again. There's literally the multiverse, not for much longer, depending how long it takes before sequels comes out. But it's literally infinite chances.
I'm just begging. I am just begging for Krennic to show up in other Star Wars things. Like, he has this brief.
He probably will.
He gets a brief appearance in the Bad Batch, and he even gets a couple lines, I think. But like, I'm like, I need more Ben Mendelsohn chewing the scenery. But hey, in the same way, like Andor season 1, like Deidre Miro like never actually meets Cassian Andor. I hope Krennic is in season 2, you know, like I don't, because like I like the fact that Deidre Miro never meets Cassian, and I'm very much, I don't want Krennic to then like develop like a personal beef with Cassian the same way that like Jyn also has like a stake in killing Krennic.
Yeah,
like I think it just kind of like retroactively overcomplicates those relationships. However, I do want Krennic to be like a primary antagonist in Andor. But that's neither here nor there. I'm prepping you to have to accept good things about Andor for when we record again later today.
I mean, I'll disassociate for 20 minutes. It's fine.
You just make the face Loki makes at the end of the show.
Pretty much, yeah. But right.
Sorry, I keep.
No, it's just
tangenting off to other conversations.
I've been tangenting on this channel for nearly 10 years. It's fine. Which I don't know how it's been nearly 10 years. It's 8 years.
I know. My guy, I was still in school when I first started here.
Don't say that. That just makes it worse.
For those of you in the Comic Book Cast Facebook group, I will say that was obviously under the pretenses of a rather raunchy meme, poking fun at Armin and Shay, which everybody took in good spirits, it seems. I kept giggling.
Oh, the one that the post the other day.
Yeah.
I
was giggling to myself.
No.
I know you did it. I know you did it. I know who your boss is. I know you make that meme. It made me chuckle. This is like a little like send up to Comic Book Cast, like looking at that like the little cartoony images of everybody. Like that was the first podcast I ever listened to. Like I was like, hey, there's Joel, there's Joe, there's. I was like, oh man, it was nostalgic for me. I was like, I remember all these folks.
But what I was going to ask.
Sorry.
What I was going to ask to reel you back in there.
Sorry.
Because it goes back to the Variety article, right? Right. I think we touched upon it on TNAP the other day.
Yeah. What were you talking about? What do you mean? They make the Kang situation uneffing. There's no coming back from it. What?
Yeah, it's like
what were they referring to? The fact right that like, oh man, there's some more Kangs out there, and it's like, yeah.
Like even the two in the show, there's no definitive end in this show for either of those two characters. We don't know where Victor Timely is. We don't know where He Who Remains is. Like, yes, they go back to Kid Victor Timely, but the way the Marvel time travel rules work doesn't mean that's a different Victor Timely, because this Victor Timely is right here.
So here's a quick question. I have come to understand the Marvel time travel as working as while the TVA is in place, you get the branch timeline stuff, and that normally time travel will cause the weird timeline branching, the Dragon Ball time travel.
Well, it depends, right? Because obviously before with Endgame, you had He Who Remains allowing that to happen, so that wasn't a branch. That was just what's supposed to happen.
Yeah, the branch didn't occur until Loki was like, and I'm out.
Which then you could there was no branch because that was supposed to happen.
But that's the beauty of the show, is that it was a
Yeah.
branch timeline that caused the downfall of all of this, because that free will should exist. It just needs guidance and not extermination.
But it wasn't free will; it's a choice made by someone else.
It's a choice to give a choice.
But is it a choice if you show them something that they can't say no to?
That's the moral conundrum.
They never went back to that, and I was genuinely shocked.
I'm glad they didn't. I'm glad they didn't. But I'm glad we just have to stew on that, because I think Loki did find like the alternative to that.
Yeah, I mean, the TVA now has a choice, because obviously Mobius is now checking. He's stalking himself, and he's just. I don't know what else is he going to do. I assume he's going to go back, because what else has this Mobius got?
He's going to kill that one and be like, "Hey kids, wow, ciao."
Oh, imagine. Yeah. But I just completely made my train of thought. Lightning McQueen just zoomed past.
Sorry, but no, I think that. So, I guess my question is, do you think that like being at kind of ground zero of time allows for like what we would call Back to the Future time travel, where you can retroactively change events? Because it seems like that's what happened. Because does like little kid Victor Timely get the TVA handbook still?
I can't. No, because that's what they were showing you, right? Because they go back.
Happen. That's what.
Yeah, they go back to the point where he got the book, but there was no book on the window when the wind blew in. But I can never remember the guy's name who wrote or directed the show. Like the people who made the show have said they aren't rewriting the time travel rules; they're expanding them.
Yeah,
right.
Then they introduced multiple forms of time travel. You have like the consciousness transfer. You have the like I said, like the more traditional like Back to the Future feeling stuff in there as well.
But I don't think none of it contradicts the whole you're just going back to a different version of yourself. You're not going back to your past, because it's all one.
Yeah.
Right. You're going back to a different one. So therefore that still means the Victor Timely they brought to the TVA is in theory still at the TVA.
Yeah. In theory.
Or
it's
he's
very
gone.
Yeah. They sent him back to his own time, and now like they've corrected that, and they're going to be monitoring that one, and now they know like for now on like
which they can do, because we know that they can do memory wipes.
Yeah, which man.
So you can just send that back, but that still then leaves He Who Remains.
Does it though?
I think it does.
I don't think it
know
does. I do think Sylvie still kills him, because there's only one He Who Remains, and Sylvie kills him, and because Sylvie kills him, it causes what Loki does.
Of He Who Remains.
But no, they kind of imply that it's just him, like he is the last man standing.
Yeah, but if he's the last man standing, yes, but there's still an infinite amount of him, because he says his variants are already out there, right? But He Who Remains is a title of. But the He Who Remains bit is a title of the last one standing, right? So any Kang to take up that spot at the end of time is He Who Remains.
Okay, so let me be more specific then. What I'm positing is that He Who Remains, that specific variant of Kang the Conqueror, sits individually at the end of time. For what has happened to happen, he has to be killed by Sylvie. For Loki to have to go on this journey and figure out how to save reality. Because of that, I think He Who Remains is dead. There are billions upon trillions upon quadtillions of Kangs out there. But that one was killed by Sylvie and replaced by Loki, and is therefore off the board.
See, I don't know if I buy that.
Am I making sense?
You're making sense. It's completely fine. I just don't know if I subscribe to that idea.
Because I do think he's dead. I think he who remains, like capital capital H, capital W, capital M, that specific Kang variant is dead, and that one
Capital
is
M.
not. What?
You went. What was it? Capital H. Because you ended that with M, you didn't go R. Because he who remains.
Did I say M?
Yeah.
R, whatever his name is. That guy.
He who mains.
He who mains. That's just Terrence Howard. But
anyway, my whole thing with it is where, because I don't buy into Loki breaking a loop. I don't think that's the case. I think with Secret Wars coming, that means that the loop still goes. Because we know the multiversal wars with Kangs.
Yeah, but I think that at the center of all of that,
we have the Kang dynasty before that. Like,
I think it'll be like Kang Prime, and not He Who Remains. Like I think He Who Remains.
I mean, sure,
Kang
but
variant who was able to put a lid on everything, but like because he is dead, like like you no longer have the Kang specific stopgap. Because I think we also have to remember so much of why Kang was doing, or He Who Remains is doing what he was doing, was to prevent Kang the Conquerors. Now that he is gone, like that specific element of his plan, of his failsafe, of his whole everything is still off the board with him. But
if nothing has a true beginning or end, is he really dead?
Well, okay. Well, now we're being semantic, and this is all weird time travel.
It's part of the show. Look, I know you don't like the whole me saying Marvel is saying the Norse mythology is the one true religion, right? The more I've thought about it, the more I'm buying it, right?
Well,
and
I understand what you're saying. I don't like to lean into that for no other reason than Marvel has already made it clear that the Norse mythology is real. It's just like
exactly
it's like less civil, like less advanced people perceiving the acts of like not even pan-dimensional, but like interstellar aliens doing stuff and understanding what they're doing as godhood, and that they have like taken that title, but like they are just another type of being in the universe. So like on that level, like all of their myths can be true. It's just not a capital R religion the way we would define it.
All right. Cool. Well, to be fair, in the MCU, it still would have been a religion.
It's still a religion, but like it is a faith that like is rooted in, well, here's what was actually going on. It's like, you know, like magic is just science we don't understand yet.
But then you have Love and Thunder. I would say love, like I don't know.
It's okay. Back in the Hall of Heroes days, I used to have a really bad habit of like flipping letters around. I still do. It's not as bad.
I do that constantly.
And I constantly get clowned on, and Travis will try to goad me into saying Thor, Thove, and Lunder.
I've said that several times. But in that movie, you have like they are like gods are a thing. They in a traditional sense, because that's the whole point of Gore. You know, he's praying and worshiping this god, and it doesn't do a thing, and that's the whole point. Like gods are, it's not a god as in we perceive it. Sure, gods are more. It's just a strength level, right?
Yeah, at least I mean, even then, I still understand it more as like there is a cosmic phenomena happening that like people who have no frame of reference for that can only perceive as a deity.
Yeah.
That like it's still that same like driving force with the Asgardians. They're like, yeah, you guys all saw this stuff happen. This is all real. All of these religions are real in some capacity. It's just like your conclusions about the hows and the whys aren't as divine as you think. It's just, you know, powerful beings doing.
But then when you have something like Norse and they go on about Yggdrasil, and now the multiverse is literally Yggdrasil.
Well, I just think that was something that existed within Asgardian culture, and then like it trickled down to them, and then Loki was like, "Yes, this is a thing I grew
But
up
it's
with."
not just an Asgardian culture, though, because that's what the whole 9 realms buy into. Right? The 9 realms aren't on the same plane anyway. You look at the Dark World, right? It's the convergence of the different realms. They all exist in their own pockets. Well, they're supposed to. They're very loosey-goosey with that one. But to then, like, you could say that's just a condensed version of Yggdrasil actually being a multiversal tree. Like, each reality has an Yggdrasil because Yggdrasil is the multiverse, with literal branches being the timelines and the roots and everything. Also, there's a little detail that I don't know if I'm just looking into it or not. When he walks up with all the branches onto the throne, the whole like kintsugi look of everything,
Yeah,
like everything, or at least the throne goes gold, right? Which, if it was gold before, he's obviously, you could say it's just him fixing everything because the gold is the glue and everything, right? But
yeah, and it's just part of his color palette, and I think Loki's.
yeah, but
I
the
think
purple
Loki's,
isn't. Right, the purple stuff isn't, and I would love to know why they've chosen this whole thing, because it's now part of his crown, it's part of the horns, right?
I
And
think that the
he's sitting on this
purple.
whole thing, but the purple is specifically Kang.
I think that the purple is part of like this like remnant of like, because Kang in many ways, Kang, like the royal Kang, like Kang as a noun to describe countless people,
Yeah,
defines the multiverse, and that there's like there's like a bit of like Kang resin that you can never wash off of reality.
but then that means it's a loop.
Well, no, he's just permeated it. Like I'm
Yeah, but
not necessarily saying that it isn't a loop. I'm just saying that like conclusive things happen on the loop. Time itself is like repeating. That's the whole point. Everything is cyclical, but like there are things that have happened on the loop.
yeah, but then where did the gold come from?
Loki.
Yeah, but before that, because that was gold with He Who Remains.
Oh, it's probably just a gold chair, and then Loki like made it Loki gold.
Or a Loki was always meant to be there.
Maybe. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about like there being like a destiny element here.
I don't think it. I mean, the whole thing's a destiny element, right? Secret Wars has already happened. Like everything we've been following in the MCU up till now is just to get to Secret Wars. Everything had to happen because He Who Remains wanted that to happen because it's the sacred timeline, and we get to Nya because it has to happen and reset. Like, is it a destiny? Not necessarily. I suppose I don't know if it necessarily is a destiny because it's not pre-written, right? It's written as it goes along.
Yeah,
but you can still write yourself back round to where you begin because it has to happen.
Yeah. Oh, I love this conversation. My head hurts. My ear, there's blood coming out of my ears. But it's I love exploring ideas like this. This is so much fun.
And the more I think about it, the more I don't know if my whole idea of the sphere and the timelines is. They're not going to do that, right? With the whole tree like curling on itself, and that's how Battle Worlds formed. I don't want. They're not going to do it, but I want them to do it.
I think they might. I do think that is very much on the table.
No, I don't. I think it's too.
I kind of love the idea that like Loki will be the last man standing. Like I think there'd be a beautiful tragedy to that. That like assuming
Because then you get the Avenger Prime stuff that they've done recently. And,
so I like the idea that like similarly to Infinity War, and again, and I know that's like an issue that like this kind of speculative conversation falls into, of like, well, we're gonna map what the last thing did onto this thing to maybe see if we can find like a structural consistency, like in the same way that everybody going into Spider-Man 2 was like, well, the way that game did it was the villain was Martin Lee until it was Doc Ock, and Spider-Man 2 kind of did that with Venom, but Venom was
Spider-Man
so...
2 is literally the same plot as the Spider-Man one.
But that's the thing. I think that's kind of an oversimplification, though. I think that there is like Venom is so present throughout the narrative.
Sure,
That
but
it isn't so much a bait and switch the way that Doc Ock is, because like the game never wants you to feel like you've beaten it. Like and again,
no,
granted,
but it's
I
very
went into it not knowing
there's
anything
key
about
points.
Spider-Man
Right? There's
1.
key points in both plots, right, that are present. It's the blue laser in the sky from the movies. There's always a canister of doom. New York always has something going on. There's always hunter bases. There's a secondary villain and a primary villain, right? Both of the games end with Peter, MJ, and Miles standing in virtually the same pose, doing the same thing. Right?
I mean, sure, but like
Peter's lost. Like it's just basic story beats. Sure, like the plots aren't identical, but there are.
Sure,
It's formulaic, right?
There's a format to it. Sure, what I'm trying to say is like I don't want to necessarily say that Kang Dynasty will necessarily have him have his Thanos moment, because I do think what I'm hoping.
No, I think they're going to do the opposite of it. I think the fact that we got a Secret Wars coming just to jump right in there and interrupt you. Sorry, but I don't think Kang's going to get his I've won moment. Kang's going to lose. That's why we have a Secret Wars, because the previous multiversal war, right, is won by He Who Remains. You could make the argument. Actually, I'm going to make the argument right now. We don't have a He Who Remains. That's why Secret Wars happens. There's no one there to stop the war or to win the war and keep everything in check. Like Kang's going to lose. No matter what, maybe we get the Beyonder comes in. I think you can't do a sequel without the Beyonder in some shape or form, right?
Without Beyonder,
that's going to be a Kang.
I think that what I've always imagined Secret Wars ending is that Kang will be in some way, shape, or form, like he will have victory, and in the moment of his revelry, in the moment where he has his Thanos smiling on the farm moment, Beyonder, Doom, whomever comes down from on high and either double crosses him, usurps him. Like there will be a moment of like you're watching a wrestling match and you think it's over and new music starts playing.
Yeah.
That will be the moment where like Kang is then usurped and eliminated. And now you have to stop Beyonder or Doom or whomever. Yeah. Is like the new he's the actual villain of Secret Wars. And maybe Kang is part of like uneffing the timeline of like, okay, well now I created this mess and I kind of have a responsibility here. Because nobody wins if it's Battle World. Like no. I'm on the losing team now. So that's kind of how I always imagine that it's gonna go, is that like reality will be shattered into 1,000 pieces, and reshaped into this bizarre new form, and that's where again Beyonder or Dr. Doom.
So I really hope it's not Doom.
Yeah, I can go either way.
I mean, I'm pulled in two directions, right? I want Doom to be a part of Secret Wars because that's the end game of Doom. Yeah, it's the end game of Doom's and Reed's story, right? That is part of his narrative. But with Fantastic Four being right before Kang Dynasty, like let's not do a flashpoint here and have Doom's second appearance be his ending. Like I want anything but that.
Do you think that a soft reboot with Doom could remedy that? That like this, like
start at the end and then carry on with the stuff.
That like you get like Doom is successful, and then that is something that will hang over Doom as a character for however long we have Doctor Doom in the MCU. That there is this sense of like, yeah, like it happened,
I think
and the audience can never forget. We saw how close he got. He did it. He did it. He did with Thanos. He did it. He won, and we all
I think
lost.
you can make
And
that
you can
work. I
never
think you
ever
need
forget
more
that
than
he
one
almost
movie.
wiped out everything permanently.
Yeah, I think you need more than one Fantastic Four movie before that, though.
That's fair. That's fair. Like I said, and again, let's also not forget that like the structure of the Avengers movies have always been that like, yeah, the main characters are like Cap and Iron Man, but like they also give like individual characters time to shine who like don't have their own movie yet. Like, you know, like the Avengers was Avengers Assemble for you. Was I wish that was the title across the world, by the way.
I don't like that it's called Assemble. Because he never says it.
I know he doesn't say it, but I like it.
And it's also he just looks dumb. It's the Avengers.
But like, you know, the first Avengers is very much an ensemble movie. But like Age of Ultron, like, yes, like the main characters are Iron Man and Captain America, but like there's a lot of stuff that's like Hawkeye and Nat and Bruce. That's like, they're kind of like the engine pushing the movie along. In the same way that like Infinity War is about Thanos, you know, like he has not had his own movie yet. The whole movie is actually about him. And in the same way, Endgame is like Nebula's like, again, Iron Man and Captain America are at the center of it, but it's kind of a story about Nebula too, you know?
Yeah.
That like I think that somewhere in there you could do something like that where like, you know, Secret Wars is kind of also a Doom movie, or like that Kang Dynasty is like kind of also like a Fantastic Four too.
I'll be honest, I really want after this.
And plus, let's not forget that Shang-Chi and the Wreckage of Time or whatever it's called.
Apparently,
like
that's post Secret Wars, which I don't know how that works. If that's
I kind of thought it was supposed to be them doing what people wanted with Avengers: Infinity War and Endgame, where they're like, hey, we're gonna like have a whole movie exploring like this.
Well, here's the thing, right? That very like this is entirely if that rumor is true, right? That could have been the case, but with a reshuffle, with them getting stuff back in, who knows what the plan is right now? I'm not trusting any scooper or whatever at the minute because I don't even think Marvel know right now. I think you still have the building blocks. I don't know how anything works, but I kind of want Kang Dynasty to be a Loki movie. Right, especially after this. Doesn't necessarily have to be this Loki, but I think this Loki has to play a part in that, right? Because we currently don't have an Avengers lineup.
No, not really.
There is nothing. How do the Avengers get together? In the first movie, it's because of Loki. Kang Dynasty, when we haven't got one, you have this Loki bring them together.
Yeah, and again, that's how you get your like Infinity Stone Avengers.
Yeah,
you know, of Loki going, okay, I gotta pluck you, I gotta pluck you, I gotta pluck you, I gotta pluck you. Who are the people I need for this task?
Exactly. And I think that's the way they go. And also you can have the revelation that Loki, you can pull a Hickman Secret Wars, right? Where you had Johnny Storm as the sun, Ben Grimm was the wall around Doom's castle and all that. Loki's literally the core of Battleworld.
Yeah.
No. I don't know if you're going to do it, Fergie, but I'm cheap. I'm not free, but I'm cheap. I'm part of no guild. I have no one.
Mitch and Nando V movies have secretly always been working for Kevin Feige.
I only know I know of Lando V movies. I have never watched it.
He's great. He's great.
So Feige absolutely did steal my idea for the Soul Stone. I will. I wish I still had that tweet. I deleted it, but
what was your
tweet? When Endgame was dropping its posters, right? Obviously, Feige didn't steal my idea; it was already shot. But there was one with Gamora slap bang in the middle of it, and this was in the height of everyone thinking where the Soul Stone is. How's it going to happen? Blah 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 blah.
Infinity War or Endgame?
Infinity War.
Oh,
Sorry,
you said
that's
Endgame.
an Endgame.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So right when Infinity War was coming out, and there's the height of everyone still trying to figure out the Soul Stone, because obviously it had to appear in this movie, and then they drop a poster and there's Gamora right in the middle of it, and I didn't see people might have said it because everyone's going, "Oh, she's going to die," and I was like, "I bet she's how he gets the Soul Stone." And what happens? Whee! Off a cliff.
You did what I did with Loki season 1. I called that shit so hard.
I mean, everyone said Kang.
No. I was saying Kang. I was saying that the Timekeepers were BS. I was on all of that.
I still stand on that. It's not Kang. It's a He Who Remains. It's a different one.
Kang. He's a Kang. It was John Majors. You know what I mean.
How'd Mephisto work out?
Okay, cool.
That was mean spirited. That last one.
That was. There was
a little bit of Venom in that one.
Yeah.
I retract it.
You can't.
There's
no ceiling.
Time is a circle. It never happened. Yeah.
Okay. Do we have anything else, bud, or are we?
No. I adored this show. I adored the fact that you can really just say it's a repeat of the first season, just slightly different.
Yeah. I think it's beautiful in that way. Again, the fact that, like, at the two opposing points of the circle, it is glorious purpose and glorious purpose. And I think that's like the difference between our interpretations of the circle thing. Is that for me, it's like ends of the circle.
You're at glorious purpose, but I'm at glorious purpose.
Yeah, it's almost like you're putting two parts of a circle together. That there is like a division between them, but that it is still circular.
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
A little bit, yeah. I say a little bit. No, I get what you mean. But yeah, that was unfortunately be it for any Loki talk going forward. Unless they better call Saul something with like a Sylvie show or a Mobius show. I don't know.
I'd be into it.
It depends. Yeah, I mean, if it's the same people, I'd be into it. Yeah, I'd be. Just give me more. I also kind of want these guys to do at least Kang Dynasty, right?
Yeah,
they've had the best Kang out of the 3 we've seen.
Yeah, and I honestly will say I think a lot of what made Jonathan Majors feel so irreplaceable is his turn as He Who Remains.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I think that, like, if you give the people who like made that character, whomever you might cast as a new kind of character,
if they end up recasting,
that the people who made him so fascinating to begin with could cook something.
Boyega.
Boyega. Thank you. Anyway.
Or you doesn't matter. Just get like every eccentric black actor.
Yes.
Not to typecast the role, but
yeah. I mean, at this point, it would feel weird to like make Kang not a black man. Like Like I said,
infinite
before,
possibilities. There's going to be one out there where
like there's gonna be one. Like I'm sure
whoever they cast as Sue Storm, have her be the one to be the big bad Kang. Go that route. Make my 1610 fan heart happy. Not that I liked that bit because it was awful, but I still like that they did it.
Crazy idea right before we end. If they do burn their Doom card with Secret Wars, depending on how much the multiverse is still a thing after that, it could do the Maker. That would be wild. I think normies would lose their minds over that.
I want nothing more in my lifetime than for them to do the Maker at some point.
I couldn't tell if you were about to be like super anti or super pro Maker, but I knew it was not going to be a milquetoast response. I was like, Mitch is either going to ban me from the CBC StreamYard, or he's going to fully co-sign what I just said. I don't know which one. It's going to be on the polls here.
But I don't know if I can make the trade for the maker by losing out really on a Doom.
I don't think we'll lose out. I just think that like they might, they might like an evil Reed will probably be a thing.
I mean, I don't think there's any chance they don't do the maker, right? How do you make a Fantastic Four movie different or a trilogy different, right? Yes, they're gonna do a Galactus and the Silver Surfer, right? But it's the evil Reed's right there, and I pray that it's the core Reed that we follow. Don't bitch out and do a different version to what we've been following. Be the maker. Be the Reed that we follow. Be the maker. Have a sack for once. But yeah, I just want both. I don't want to. I don't know.
I feel you. But yeah. Also, before we end, Iron Eyes Bastard season 2 coming soon.
Mm-hmm. Go watch it. Go subscribe.
Go watch season 1. You subscribe to the Nerd Academy. Subscribe to all.
How close are you now?
How close am I now? Let's find out. I am sitting at 462. So close, guys. Come on.
You need 48 people.
I need 48 people before the end of the year. So I can.
Or is it 38?
38. Neither of us can do math. I'll take 48. I'll take that extra.
I mean, I failed math twice. I have an excuse.
No wonder you don't understand all this space-time stuff. So much better than you. I barely passed his science and math classes.
I say I was good at maths. I just I see tests and questions and
brilliant but lazy.
No, I think it's more neurospicy, but that's not confirmed by anyone. So it's a possible self-diagnosis going on here, which I think you have to do at this point when you're my age. But yeah, that's a completely different conversation. So yeah, thanks for joining, everyone. We'll maybe catch you again soon. Are you going to watch the Scott Pilgrim on Netflix?
Maybe. If I get around to it, maybe. Okay. You ready for a embarrassing confession?
If you're going to give me a Scott Pilgrim hot take that I'm not going to agree with, you're going to end it right now.
I haven't seen Scott Pilgrim versus the World.
Oh my god!
I was a kid. I was a kid. I did not. It was not on my radar.
And with that, everyone, on that sad note, I'm gonna like the ending of the Hulk. I'm just gonna fade off into the sunset with the saddest music imaginable. So, bye.